up, everybody? It's Chad. We're back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. Today, I'm here with my friend Efrain Gomez. I was just telling him about a friend who goes by Effie with the same name. Thank you again for joining me today. It's been great, and getting to know you a little bit before the show has been awesome. But I can't wait to get to know you a little bit more throughout the show. So thank you again.
Yeah, anytime, brother. Thank you for having me on and for just giving me the opportunity to just highlight what I do. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. That's what I love to do is bring people on, tell us a story about what you got, and let's have a conversation. So for the listeners out there and for myself, could you give us a cool introduction of who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so my name is Efrain Gomez, and I am a serial entrepreneur right now. Currently going to school for certified personal training and like fitness education and coaching. But currently I am the host of the Cannabis podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Channel 27, all of your streaming platforms. And I'm the director of the Cannabis Hikers Club, the
Okay,
first cannabis-friendly hiking club in Mexico. And
I
we've
like it.
been, yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
We've been operating for about a year, almost a year now. I come from Long Beach, born in Long Beach, raised in New Mexico. I love it here. It's my home. I've moved to Florida and moved right back, and I really enjoy the community and just the people. Like I've really grown a deep love and appreciation for everyone here. And being a part of this movement, like I was also a key holder right before I started the podcast. I was a key holder at a local dispensary, and I met a lot of people from all walks of life that really improved my perspective about the cannabis community and the members within, and how you can't really judge a book by its cover. And I've learned that people from all walks of life really benefit from the plant. And since legalization, I just saw a gap, and I decided to add my little spin and flair to it. And here I am 2 years later, and having the time of my life. I've met so many people in the community, and including Chad. Thank you, Chad. Again, it's been great getting to know you, and I just look forward to see where it all leads. I'm not too sure, but I'm here for it.
100%. Thank you for that, and thank you for joining me again. That's a great to hear that you're thinking outside of the box when it comes to this, because so many people are just going dispensary or whatever, but you can do so much more, and like you can
Mm,
do the ancillary business thing, and you're doing that, and that's great. And so before I talk about the podcast, because I didn't know about the hiking thing. So tell us about this hiking thing. Like what's the deal with this? When do you guys meet, that whole spiel?
Yeah, no, thank you. I love talking about the Counterfeit Hikers Club. We
Okay.
are based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We have our meetings on the first Tuesday of each month and our hikes on the last Saturday of each month. And they range in location. We've had hikes in just north of Los Alamos. We've had hikes in here in Albuquerque in the San Dias, and we're looking to just visit all around the state to see where the trails lead, because there's so many beautiful trails and scenic views here in the state that I feel like not a lot of people know about. And there are actually a lot of active cannabis consumers out there that also appreciate the outdoors, and I just decided to fill in the gap there because I really, I really I felt like there was a need in the education space in the community,
Mhm.
and I really wanted to have a way for us to meet in person and get to know each other and behind, just on a deeper level. And it's been great because we're about over 200 plus community members, and we have we've capped each hike at 20 members. So if you want to join them, please reserve your spot. And we have online community space on Hobnob, and you can follow our links on our social media pages if you are interested in joining. And on these hikes, we do clean up the trails. We carry trash bags with us and trash pickers, and we pick up trash along each trail because we just noticed that we want to add a positive spin on our community, because I felt like there's an opportunity for us to really interact on this on the ground, really on the ground, in the nature as well. and it's been great getting to meet so many people from all around the country, all around the state, and yeah, I look forward to seeing more people and more sites and trails, and I'll be visiting Las Cruces too because there are a lot of beautiful trails out there. I've been learning, so yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, and I'm from Alamogordo originally, so we have the Sacramento Mountains. The
Mhm.
Oregon Mountains are cool. They're just to me they're a little small. Because like the Sacramentos have actual cities in them, and
Yeah.
so that's where I'm like, okay, like that's cool, but I'd really like to go hiking in the Sacramentos because God it has some gorgeous views
Wow.
over there, and you don't feel like you're in New Mexico when you're in those mountains and everything. So like Weed, New Mexico, I know the funny name. That's a great place to go hiking. Cloudcroft, that's like a little gem because everyone goes to Ruidoso, but Cloudcroft is just as beautiful, and less busy. So yeah, I mean, whenever you guys are down, let me know. I'm down to go hiking, man. We could probably, you can
Yeah.
set your plans up and stuff, and I'll meet you out there.
How exciting. Yeah, we would love to have you join, man. We're all just casual people just looking to interact and just meet more people. And it's been great, honestly. And so after each hike, we meet at a local lounge and just have a little kickback and socialize a little bit without the huffing and puffing and the sweat. So it's pretty
Perfect.
great.
Yeah. Love that. And you guys are being mindful of the forest too, not trying to smoke in there
Mm.
to start any fires, of course,
Oh, yeah.
federal
It's
regulations, it's a
illegal.
federal forest, all that good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So it's great that you
Yeah.
guys are taking what we have. And I'm so glad that we have consumption lounges because it gives us that
Mhm.
option.
Mhm.
Because when someone goes bike riding, they go for a jog or whatever sporting event with their friends, they go get a beer. They go afterwards, they get a drink or something or
Mhm.
go eat. In this case, we get to go smoke some cannabis or consume cannabis in whatever way you want. So I love that. And yeah, in Alamogordo, they have a couple lounges. Here in Cruces, we got a couple lounges. So if you guys are ever in town, that'd be awesome, dude. Maybe we can work with the lounge or something like that and get a little thing going for you guys and everything. So they're really cool working with events here. It's real dope.
It's gonna happen. Don't even sweat. It's gonna happen.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. And those of you that are watching, if you're interested, give me the link and I'll get it to Gino so that way we can get in the description and everything. So that way they can make sure they sign up and keep track of it because that's a really cool thing, man. I like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We're excited
Yeah.
for having you guys join.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So, let's jump over to the podcast now. Let's talk about that. So, where and when did this come up for you? Like how long you been doing it?
Since 2023, I began in March of 2023, and it's been great. On the first season, and we're stationed in Studio 519 in downtown Albuquerque, and it's been great meeting all these different people. And yeah, we have about, I want to say, 18 episodes now. We're on YouTube. You could find our previous episodes and current episodes there. And also, if you have any streaming platforms that you have a subscription with, like Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, Audible, we have a few more others, and YouTube for sure. You could find us there. And we are dedicated to highlighting and interviewing experts, enthusiasts, and activists within the cannabis and fitness communities within Albuquerque and honestly the world, because I've had a couple from, guests from South America and it's been pretty cool. And it's just because I really, so the Cannabis Podcast came into existence because legalization happened in New Mexico, and I was looking online and I noticed that there wasn't any platform outside of the news where we were represented. And I saw that the Vice did some specials, but they're very neutral. And I felt like I I could do that. I could. I love talking to people. I love meeting new people and getting to know everyone's story because everyone has their own story and their own relationship with the cannabis plant. And so I decided to start it up. I'm a one man band. I sometimes my sister comes in and helps like man the camera, but yeah, it's been pretty great. I've been learning so much, and I'm really excited to see where it all goes. But I'm just here to highlight really and just show the humanity behind the community because I feel like a lot of our stories get washed away in the 2 minute clips in the news or and it's been great because I feel like we need a voice and not just on the ground, but like in the digital media as well, because there, I just want to say there's a lack of representation, of honest representation of people that can just share their story. And I just feel like I wanted to start a platform for that, and it's been great. I've been able to meet so many inspiring and motivating people, and honestly, great people that are from our community, and continue to inspire so many with their knowledge and personal background with the cannabis plant. And I just want us to just become more educated. This is all just to become more educated because I feel education happens through best through honest conversations and like this one, right? And I'm having fun. I don't know where any of it's going to lead, but I'm having a blast, and yeah, I just look forward to whatever happens. Right?
Nice. Yeah. And what kind of guests do you usually have on? Is it like just cannabis or, like, are you kind of like a wide range of guests?
Yeah. So I tend to, well, I aim to have cannabis people from the cannabis community. It could be any anybody from the cannabis community. So I've had um, instructors, I've had doctors, I've had therapists, ex-football players, just people from all walks of life because
Yeah.
we aren't a monolith, right? Like I feel like there's more than meets the eye with our community, and it's yeah, I've been really thankful for this opportunity to really because honestly, my background, I used to be against cannabis, like pretty bad up until high school and I suffered from generalized anxiety disorder from the age of 15, and I just decided to try it, one day in my late teens, and my life has changed. I got off of antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, and I've been able to lead a quality life, and it's just I really look forward to also on your podcast too, like meeting new people through these platforms because our stories are worthy of being shared.
100%, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean that's the reason why this show exists, is to educate and to really show that we're not stupid stoners, and the stigma and like the whole perception that we're just really dumb people who just sit there and eat all day. It's not true. Like I work my ass off on this show and all the other stuff that I do. There's no me sitting on the couch very often. Like not as much as I'd like. But and shows like yourself, they show it too. So that's cool. And thank you for sharing that with me. How many episodes are you guys in now?
We have about total 17 episodes. We will be airing the 18th episode on the 20th, so tomorrow.
I saw it
and
with my buddy Doug.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was great. He came up
yeah, yeah,
from Tula Rosa. No, it was
yeah.
great.
I grew up with
Yeah,
them. Him and his brother. I grew up with them in Alamogordo. We played sports together and everything.
amazing. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
would love to have you on too, Chad. It'd be great to meet you,
Yeah,
honestly.
well, I'm going on up next week. I think that's the case, 28th, right? Yeah, we have me on for the 28th. I'll
Thank
be up there, and yeah, of course. And thank you for having me on. It'll be my pleasure to be on your show, of course. To share with your audience and everything like that. And this is a collaborative kind of thing. Like we don't have to. Well, I try to say this a lot: is cannabis media people really need to start getting together more. And
for
anytime I
sure.
meet someone cannabis media wise from another state, or one of the national guys, I let them know that I'm like, look, there's not many of us, and we kind of all got to band together, because like these days we're kind of keeping people informed. You got LMC out there; he's keeping people informed.
Mm,
You got a couple other that popped up, and I'm just happy that they're around, because I can only do so much in my respective state, but they're doing it state to state, and I'm like, thank God. And you know what? We all follow each other. I like each other's content, and you know what? They keep me updated on what's going on in their area, so I can share it with everybody in this state, and vice versa. Because a lot of things that I share, they see it and they go, "Oh shit, yeah, that's something I could probably share here." So it's kind of
mm,
like a big old thing where we're just a big old share thing. It's almost like a big news cannabis thing, but
mm,
it's all independent.
wow.
Yeah,
Ecosystem, right?
yeah, big old ecosystem that
Natural.
just kind of naturally happen.
Mm.
So,
And
and you're a part
yeah,
of that.
and I'm honored, honestly, because, and I respect what you do because not many of us are educated about the politics side of it. And the cannabis wasn't legalized on accident. It has taken the movement and education and hard work, behind all the showing up, period, and the planning behind it all. And yeah, so thank you because you're motivating. Honestly, I've learned about quite a few movements and bills that were being passed from your content. So it's valuable, and I'm just hoping that more people are inspired because it's not a competition. We're just trying to educate as many people as possible because this plant is a plant. It's
Yeah.
not anything worse, and I just
Yeah.
want to highlight you, brother.
I appreciate it, man. And right now this part of the show is about you, so we'll wait for your show to do that part.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you kind of brushed a little bit on the reason why you started, using cannabis, and I appreciate you sharing that with me because I like to ask people that question, and you answered it yourself. But I saw, and we spoke about it before, that you also use cannabis as a way to help you lose weight, as a motivation
Mhm.
for that too. Do you want to share that story?
Yes, yes. So I lost over 80 pounds and about a decade ago, and I've kept it off for over a decade now. And I credit most of that to my cannabis use because it helped motivate me to get to the gym and to get through the workouts and recover because of the inflammation, the anti-inflammatory properties within the plant. I was able to recover faster and perform better than I have ever in my life. I was overweight my entire life. I grew up obese as
Yeah.
a child, and I've kept it until after high school. And um, cannabis really was like a breath of fresh air, like that I didn't have before. Because when you have anxiety, especially generalized anxiety, it's random. It
Mhm.
comes randomly. And when I consumed cannabis for the first time, I felt a sense of relief that I've never prior felt, and it was life changing. I was like, wow, is this what I haven't felt any of this from the medication I've been taking. This is I feel actually content and okay. And so since then, I have definitely a different take on the plant and a newfound appreciation for it. And now I'm just trying to educate because it's not. I believe it's not supposed to be a crutch in someone's life, but more of a tool, right? And I just want to help highlight the possibilities of a healthy lifestyle within that.
Yeah, because cannabis is different from, like prescription pills. A lot of prescription pills, and I say a lot of because, some of them like, like antibiotics and stuff like that, that is to fight an infection.
Mhm.
But when you have like painkillers and antidepressants, those are just masking really what the underlying issue is versus giving you the tools to deal with that issue. Like, I suffer from combat related PTSD. That's never going to go away. The experiences I experienced over there, that's never going to go away in my history. But what I can do is figure out how to deal with what I have. And cannabis is one of those tools in my toolbox. And you said it, great. And I say this all the time too, is, cannabis is just one tool of many tools that I have in my toolbox when I need it. And I can go in there
Mm,
and grab it whenever I need. And I do, I grab it all the time. But it's not the only one. I like I said, exercise is another one. That's very, very important. And that's something that, a lot of my fellow vets, they even forget themselves too. And even myself, when I got out of the military, I gained a lot of weight and I was in Germany. I was about 220, 230 pounds. Man, those donors are really good over there. Oh man, the
mm.
Lipomas Fritas. Yeah. So
I'll try.
yeah, the food was good, but so was my fucking my body fat. But yeah, I got back and
Yeah.
just one day I just decided, you know what, I'm tired of this shit. And I just
Mhm.
never looked back. And like that's
Mm,
one thing that I try to tell people is you can't have a plan of when this has to happen. You just got to do it. It's not, I'm going to start a diet next week on Tuesday. No,
mhm,
it's, I need to lose weight. I'm starting today, right now, going further. And that's what happened. I never looked back and I never changed it. Don't get me wrong. You have your fluctuations, you have your injuries and stuff like that, but you always have the bounce back. And that's always like a good feeling is that bounce back. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And I'm sure a lot of you that have worked out that are watching, you understand what the bounce back is. And, it's pretty much when you come back after a long rest period and, you're getting it and all that stuff. And you have that little soreness and you're like, oh yeah, there we go. And you
Yeah.
realized how strong you were.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I'm glad that you found relief. Not just relief with cannabis, but you found a way to help you lose the weight that you
Mm.
held on for so long. You said most of your life, right?
Yeah. Half
Yeah,
of it.
that's impressive. Because you've kept it off for over a decade. Even though it's something that burdened you for so long, and even now you're like, well, I'm gonna keep going. And now you're kind of showing other people how they can do this too. And I love that because so many people, not just veterans as well, will just rely on cannabis to blanket, to just cover it with something, or just to, I'm just going to smoke and it's going to get better. It's like, well, it's not going to get better. It's going to help, but it's not going to make everything better. Like it's not a magical thing like that. It's not like a genie where it's going to, the smoke's going to come out and you get 3 wishes. That's not how it works. You got to put in a lot of work in it. So that's cool that you found that, and not many people do find it that way. So maybe they'll find the motivation with hearing this conversation.
Yeah, and honestly, I just encourage everyone just to educate themselves, because ignorance, a lot of bad things can come from ignorance, and you don't want to feel uneducated. It's not a good feeling to feel uneducated, and just it's these people deserve to be humanized and understood that there's nothing wrong with them. They just choose to consume a different type of medication.
Yeah, 100%. Like, just because the wine mom is doing her wine thing doesn't mean the canna mom is any lesser or better of a parent than the wine mom. Like they're just using something different. One vice is one or the other. Not saying one's better than the other or whatever, but cannabis moms get a bad rap sometimes.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfair, because they cannabis has so many applications, and it can impact many people that we don't even know. And it's just hard to judge people these days, because we can see the true effects that it has on their parenting. And I've met parents that are proud cannabis consumers, and I applaud them, because it takes courage to speak up
Yeah.
against, the stigmas that are still per, really permeating our community. But yeah, they deserve a lot more recognition for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And when are you gonna get your certification too? I meant to ask that earlier. For your personal trainer certification. When are you gonna get that?
Yeah, by the summer, I'm
Okay.
about a third of the way through my schooling.
Cool. And good on you for going out of your way to get that schooling, to further even more, because now you can say that I am licensed this and that, and we're going to implement cannabis. How about that? And so
And
that's great that you, yeah, that you did that. So I'm that's cool, man. I'm glad you're going that route. Um, well, like, so let's dig in more to about your cannabis stuff too. So you got the podcast, you got the hiking stuff. So when you are, I guess, planning to help people work out, do you plan to help them with the cannabis regimen too, or what's going to happen with that?
yeah, so I'm an aspiring cannabis fitness coach. So it's the intentional integration of cannabis into your workout routines or workout lifestyle, because cannabis has so many applications:
Oh,
pre-workout,
we'll cut real
intra-workout.
fast. It cuts you
Oh yeah,
off right when you said I'm an inspiring. So we'll start from inspiring.
okay.
Okay.
Oh wait, I totally forgot my train of thought. I'm sorry, brother. Can we
um,
can we yeah? What was the
I'll
question,
ask
my
the
brother?
question again and I'll let you go from there. How about that?
Okay, yeah, thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah. So, you have this whole workout thing that you're going to be doing too. So are you going to be implementing cannabis with it? Is it going to be like workout and cannabis? Or, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, so I'm an aspiring cannabis fitness coach. And what we do is we intentionally integrate cannabis into workout routines and lifestyles. So cannabis has so many applications, and pre-workout, intra-workout, and post-workout you can. But again, everyone has their own unique endocannabinoid system that they have to take into account, because
Mhm.
not every prescription is for everybody. So
Mhm.
find out what works best, start low and go slow, and find out what works best for you first. And then work around what you would like to, where you need a little bit of assistance the most. So if you need some pre-workout motivation, I usually recommend a sativa, because it's a little bit more uplifting, but again, sometimes that does have the opposite effect on people. So just be mindful of what that entails for you. And intra workout, I usually go with a hybrid, because it's very balanced. I can still be focused, and it can start the recovery process, because it calms my body down. It regulates my body to the point that I'm able to start my recovery. And then post workout, I usually go with like an indica, because of the anti-inflammatory benefits and the pain relief that it does apply as well. And I use topical forms, salves. I love them, and we have like so many different options here. Like I'm learning more too. And CBD, if you don't want
Yeah.
THC, CBD is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's very, very impactful too. So yeah, I love and just implementing this because it's possible, and I've kept it off for over a decade, and I just want to help others do the same.
Yeah, and even with the more implementation of the CBG and CBN stuff, we could use CBG almost as like a pre-workout, because you're not going to
Mm,
get high, but it gives you the energy that
there
really
you
gets to
go.
kick you off. Me, I'm just high energy to start with. I don't even drink coffee or energy drinks, so I just get going as my workout is. Maybe who knows later on in life I'll need it, but as of right now,
Yeah.
no. But when it comes to cannabis usage in my workout, I actually don't use cannabis until after my workout. It's actually a post workout for me. For some reason, when I use cannabis during, I'm more of a quote unquote indica guy. So I feel more weak while I'm working out, and I don't like that feeling. So it's also a little reward for me after the workout. It's like after you get done, you're going to take a big dab, or after I'm done, I'm gonna rub this on my knees because I'm a broke dick veteran, and I have to be very careful about how I work out. I actually work out every other day to every other day,
Mm,
just so that way I can mitigate my injuries because I'm older now, so I'm more prone to injuries, and I've learned that the hard way. And I want to make sure that I'm not out for 2 weeks. I'd rather do it every other day so I can be consistent. So that's something if you guys are looking at, you don't and you shouldn't be working out like 7 days a week. You need a
mm,
rest period.
mm. Yeah,
So
it's
yeah, and I'm sure you
different.
can explain about that a little bit more too.
Yeah, definitely. You want to keep your workouts not as intensive for a long duration if you can help it. Just depending on what your goals are. Are you looking to lose weight, gain weight? Are you looking to gain muscle? Then we just go from there, and then from
Yeah.
there we can implement how cannabis personally affects you, and go from there. It's a walk. It's more of a walk. It's not like here's a one size fits all prescription. No, it's very because the cannabis plant is a complex one, and we
Mhm.
really got to respect that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the different products that come out all the time, who
Mm.
knows? I mean, but the cannabis drinks coming out, who knows? There might be a cannabis sports drink that comes out. I think that would be cool. Like a
Yeah.
cannabis Gatorade. I mean, that'd
Well,
be awesome. Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, someone out there, please make it.
yes, yes. Send it our
So
way.
yeah, like, or maybe you guys will work on it, with your, maybe you'll have a line of some supplements or something like that you can,
Mm,
release on the cannabis side. And it doesn't always have to be THC. Like we said, the CBD,
exactly.
CBG, CBN for nighttime for, recovery. Then even, sleep is very important for recovery. I try to, but, the army, damn it, I don't get good sleep these days and I'm just so busy. But, but yeah, it's great that you're going that route, dude. I love the fact that you're implementing all of this health and exercise stuff. The hiking thing, that was such a great idea. To just kind of get a group of like-minded people together, go hike, and then afterwards let's go smoke. So I love it, man. And I hope to see you do more of this stuff, and hope to see it kind of flourish throughout time. And maybe you should give me a little walk around when I'm there in Albuquerque or something like that, or I might be there for the weekend, so maybe I'll be able to hike or something. So if you have something planned, let me know.
Yes, it would be an honor, brother. Like anytime, anytime. We'll
Cool.
be glad to have you.
Perfect, man. And before we move on to our next topics and everything, do you have anything else to add that you want to talk about?
Well, first, thank you for your service, man. Just straight
Appreciate
up.
it.
Yeah, that's huge. And then I'm thankful that you're speaking out as well. And I'm just glad that there needs to be more of these platforms coming up. So if you guys feel inspired to share your insights, do it. Just start. You got to start because the longer you wait, the more your blessings are going to be delayed, and we don't want that. So just get out there and share your voice because each of our voice matters.
100%, man. And I tell this to everybody all the time. I'm kicking the dead horse until it's powder. Um, it only
That's a
takes
good.
two people for constituent to turn into constituents. So remember, it
Mm,
doesn't always take billions of people to change something. Sometimes it starts with one and then two. And so that's really all it is. You have the idea, you bring it up to them, maybe someone else has the same idea and they bring it up to them too. And there you go, constituents. So keep that in mind. It doesn't take many. And before we move on, one more thing, where can people find you in real life and online?
yeah, so I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You can find us. So we meet virtually. For I've created 3D. meeting space for our Cannabis Hikers Club, and we meet there on the first Tuesday of each month, and we meet in person on the last Saturday of each month. And I have the Cannabis podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. You can find my personal page on Instagram at Efrain G underscore. And yeah, just reach out if you want to collab or interested in being a part of our movement because we need more people. We can't do this
Awesome.
alone. It takes a village, right?
Yeah, it takes all of us, and the more of us that fight, the stronger that our argument is. So I'm glad that you said that, man. So thank you so much. And let's move on to the next conversation. And that's going to be the New Mexico legislative update. I'm sure you guys have been waiting all week for this. And those of you who pay attention to my social media pages, you're probably more updated than anybody else. So congratulations. But I'm going to update you guys real quick, and then we'll have a cool conversation about these bills and what they mean and everything. And who knows, it might affect, what you do too. So HB 10, I've talked about this a lot. So HB 10 is the cannabis enforcement bill I've been talking about. It's passed 2 committees so far, and it's headed to the House floor. At the time of recording and before this show is going to air and before we're even done recording, the House was already meeting, and I'm not sure if it's going to be heard today or when, but it did say that it's on the House calendar, which usually means that it's going to be heard soon. And then usually if you click that, it'll go and it'll show you where it's at, but there's nothing on there because they barely were getting started. And to be honest, it was kind of annoying. They started around 10 a.m. and by the time I was leaving for here, they were still on announcements and miscellaneous. They weren't even on bills yet. They were still doing a bunch of BS. And so when it comes to like the legislative stuff, it can be very frustrating. So if you guys are watching or you're trying to go up there, just keep in mind, Semper Gumby, like I tell you all the time, guys, be flexible, always flexible, because this stuff changes like that. And sometimes it changes and we don't even know it changed. So keep that in mind. Now, this bill, if you guys don't know what it is, it's the enforcement bill. We have an enforcement issue here in New Mexico. It's because the CCD doesn't really have a lot of authority to do certain things like confiscate, illegal product, crack down on the illegal farms and other illegal activity going on in the industry. So they don't have any authority. So essentially what they're trying to do with this is create an enforcement cannabis agency through RLD, which CCD is under too, as RLD is under that umbrella. They'll be under the RLD umbrella. CCD will essentially, from my understanding from my conversation with Todd Stevens at the CCD when I was in Santa Fe, explained to me that essentially they would open up the investigation, and then once it gets to a point, they'll hand it over to those guys and they take over. And then, of course, it goes back to them whenever it needs to do whatever. So that's essentially what this bill is. But the bill also says that they can literally go after anybody who breaks the CRA. Now, as time right now, the police can go after you if you break the CRA. So it's really not that much of a difference when it comes to that. I was just concerned there, but they were going to be going after patients and consumers. I was like, I want to make sure you guys aren't going like this whole low-hanging fruit thing isn't going to happen on this side too. Because right now we're seeing a lot of dispensaries get this low-hanging fruit thing where they're like either conveniently on the way in the city or they're just always getting inspected for some reason. But the guy down the street who's breaking the law, barely licensed, gets just no inspections whatsoever. So I don't want that to happen to the patients and to the consumers either. And so that was my concern, is like, I want to make sure that you guys aren't going to use your resources to go after the wrong people. I want you guys to really focus on the people who are really making this hard and making the illicit market more of a thing here in New Mexico, the out-of-state product, the untested product, the illegal farms, the dispensaries who are backdooring, stuff like that. Those are the kind of things that are concerns here in New Mexico. So this bill is supposed to fix that. I still have my reservations on it. We will only really know how this is going to work once it's implemented and it's going. So we can say and it's going to do this and this all day, or this is going to be the plan. There's a way things are and a way things should be. And we learned that a lot in life. And that's how these bills work all the time. That's how the CRA happened. We wrote a bill, and then once we started implementing things, we're like, oh, crap, we forgot a couple things. And that's why every year we go back and we have to add certain things. And the enforcement part is one of it. I mean, a lot of people have the ideas, different ideas and everything, but this is the way that they decided to approach it. During the committee hearings, the representatives did ask some questions like, is there any other industry that, has similar or same enforcement? And they said, yes, alcohol and tobacco have the exact same thing. So it's not really outside of the scope of what other industries are doing. It's just we get marginalized a lot in the cannabis industry just because of our background and where we come from. So there's a lot of like distrust. And even when I was in the committee hearing, I told them that. I said, you know, it's really hard for us to trust you guys because where we come from. I get it. We come from the black market, and you know, it was a cat and mouse game not too long ago. We're still scared shitless, and there's a reason why you guys only see me so much and not everybody else. And until that changes, that's going to be the case. And so it's going to be up to you guys to help us change that, you know, that idea as well. And I wanted them to keep in mind that, you know, we have to do this right. If not, we're going to lose the trust, not just from the public, but from the industry. And it's just going to be bad. So we'll see what happens. Now, that's for HB 10. As I said, as of the time of recording, and right now, the House is in session right now, the full House. I don't know if it's being heard, if it has been heard, but if it does, I will post it on my socials. So if you guys are watching this by the time that the House had already, you know, met, if it did happen, go check my socials. You know, most likely go see, you know, what the result was for there. My apologies, I don't really have anything else from there, but I can't predict or tell the future. So you know, that's like a unfortunate thing. But HB 10 should be heard at some point, and then we'll figure out what goes on from there. Now, after it goes to the House floor, it has to go over to the Senate, and then it has to go through its committees, and then the Senate floor. So it still has a long way to go. Tomorrow is actually the last day that they can introduce bills. So after tomorrow, no more bills can be introduced into the legislature, and then we have what we have. So we might see a bunch of bills posted for the cannabis side. I think there's almost 40 or over 40 cannabis related or cannabis mentioned bills that's in the legislature right now. Now the cannabis themed or based ones, I can't give you a number off the top of my head, but it isn't really that many that are just strictly for cannabis. But there are a lot of ones that mention cannabis somewhere, just, you know, out of language or whatever. So we'll see what happens. The session is roaring and going. We have about 1 month left of the session, and this is where things start to get a little crazy. This is where we'll see them start to work very late, and this is where we'll see them start to work 7 days a week. So the last 2 weeks is when it is insane, and I hate it. I hate that time because I'm up late, I'm watching committees, I'm mad, you know, we're cussing at people, you know, we're like, what are you talking about? You know, it's a whole thing. We're texting each other back and forth. So it's an interesting time. So what are your thoughts so far on the HB 10 thing on the enforcement?
Yeah, so I can see where their intention lies, that they want to alleviate some of the enforcement committee right now that is currently under that is overseeing everything. So I kind of feel like they want to create something that they can give all those cases to them so they can take care of it first, and if it is escalated, it'll go back to them. And I feel the intention is good, but about the execution, right? So I'm feeling a lot of hands in the pot is not always a good thing, and
Yeah.
some things can mistakenly happen, and so we just want to be careful about if this does happen, who is in charge, and make sure that we all know these names. No deal should be done in the dark, you know,
Yeah.
and I feel like, especially with this one, I yeah, I'm indifferent because hearing about going after patients. Well, are they saying if they if they abuse their medical card, like things like that? I'm not entirely sure about that, but yeah, it's complicated, but yeah, at the same time, I don't think we need more harsher oversight than we do now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a tricky thing, you know, because it's a slippery slope, is what I've called it.
Hmm.
You know, you have an issue that needs enforcement, but you have a certain way you need to do it because of the history, because of its federal status, and because of
Yeah.
a bunch of other things. So you're just like, oh, we got to like teeter totter on a certain thing, and then you have hemp on top of it too, which muddies the water even more and creates even more confusion, which the CCD has no authority over. And the next bill we'll talk about actually has to deal with that. So HB 346 was actually a bill that was to ban semi and synthetic cannabinoids, or, you know, pretty much Delta 8, Delta O, HHC.
Okay.
That's what this bill was going to do. Now, it went to its first committee, didn't make out of its first committee, thank God. But one thing I did notice is that the hemp industry, they showed up and they showed out. So
Good.
we had a bunch
Okay.
of people, of course, that were for the bill. You know, most of them were the corporate companies like Swaz. They were there. They had they had a lobbyist there who was, for the bill, of course, and a bunch of other corporate companies, of course, were for this bill, because if that happens, they get more profits because they're not getting their profits dug into by the hemp industry. So if they ban a certain hemp product, where else you're going to get that certain thing where you got to go to the dispensary? And some people do like the Delta 8s and O's because they feel like it's not as intensive and you don't get as much anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. If that's your jam, that's your jam. I'm not a big fan of them. But if you find benefit from it or relief, then by all means, by all means. Now, if you guys don't know what Delta 8, Delta O, HHC, et cetera, is, these are just compounds that are found naturally in the cannabis plant in very minute quantities. It would take a lot of cannabis just to produce enough to even make a difference. So what they did is they found out that if you take CBD and put it through a chemical process, you can actually pretty much synthesize, that's what this process is called when you do that synthesization. You synthesize these and it turns into a Delta 8, Delta O psychoactive compound. To me, it kind of feels like alchemy. It's like, this seems like some alchemy crazy stuff, but it's just chemistry. And so they just do it, but it is a chemical process. It can be very harmful depending on how you do it. So I do feel that they need to regulate it versus ban it. And I think that was what the legislature understood too, is that why are we trying to just flat out ban this? Because we just got done legalizing this stuff. So now we're going to go back and start banning it because we have a fear of it. Like, it didn't really make any sense. And a lot of their arguments fell flat because a lot of the same stuff that you can do with this stuff, you can do with Delta 8 and regular cannabis. You can take the CBD from regular cannabis and do the exact same thing, because the difference between cannabis and CBD or hemp is a legal distinguishing number, 0.3% THC, and it's arbitrary. It's not scientific. They didn't say that, once it hits this percentage, the plant totally transforms into something else. No, it's the same plant. It's just at a certain standard, it is considered hemp. And that's just the legal term. And so that's where we got this whole confusion thing from. So now we have these legal products that you can get from out of state. I can order Delta 8, THCA, HHC. I can order that online and I can get it sent to my house, federally legal with a COA and everything. But they wanted it banned. And so there was a few people that were for it, but the hemp industry showed out and was like, no, this is what's going to happen if we ban this. I'm going to go out of business. It was producers, it was manufacturers, even the smoke shops. People that own smoke shops showed up because they sell this product too. And it's not their fault that it's a federally legal product and they can sell it in a federally legal store. Like, you can sell it in Walgreens if you want, and some of them do. And some of these bigger stores do. And they were actually going to ban it, create like a new task force thing, legal wise, kind of like they want to do with HB10, but for like HHC and Delta 8, so they can go and crack down on these and make sure they remove them from the stores. It was going to be a whole mess. And so ended up failing. I think it was I forget the actual vote. I think it was either a 6-4 or like a 4-2 vote. It didn't pass, it failed very marginally. It was very close. But one of the representatives, when she explained her vote, said, so long as these products are able to be purchased online and there's no way that you guys can regulate that, we're not going to be able to do anything about this. And there's nothing we can do, because it's a federally legal product. It can be made in any state. It can come from any state. It can come from anywhere around the world, actually. And you can import it into the state, just like any product here. And like, to me, it was just kind of weird. And I've actually been on this conversation with people before. And I question, how long do we have with the cannabis dispensary model? The model we have now, where it's a standalone building like a liquor store, you go in and buy your cannabis. Because if you look where you can get alcohol, you can get it almost anywhere. I can go to the movie theaters and get it. I can go to a sporting event, anything above high school, and get it. I can go to Walgreens. I can go to the gas station. I can go to most restaurants and I can get, alcoholic beverages. And certain small bars, I can go in and buy a 6-pack directly from them and take it home, so long as they package it, or if it's packaged, whatever the law is. That is eventually going to happen with cannabis. And we're already seeing it on the hemp side. And certain states already allow it at the bars, at restaurants, like Delta 8, the hemp derived stuff, or THCA. And some sporting venues allow it too. I think the Packers allow THCA drinks inside the stadium, like they sell it. I think that was it. Don't quote me, or it could be one of the college ones. But either way, it's already happening in that sense. And so we're already on a kind of a timeline of how long do we really have this? And when you see corporate companies fighting against like a product like this. They know that they're going to be losing if something doesn't change, and they already are losing some money, and they just want to get it. So I'm glad that this was tabled, because that's what happened. It was tabled. Essentially what it means when they table it is it's a fancy way of killing it, because it can be considered later, it can be reconsidered, but it's essentially a way to kill it. It's like a slow death to a bill. And instead of just killing it keeps it almost in like purgatory, just chills, and until they bring it back, revive it. So we'll see what happens. I doubt it's going to come back. It's pretty much dead. I don't see this coming around, because there was just not enough support from the legislature at all when it came to this. They did not like this bill. They thought it was silly. And to be honest, with the questions that they were asking just showed how silly this was, because, for the same things that you can do for these products, you can do similar things with cannabis. And, sometimes cannabis is more strict on getting these products than not. And some people's arguments were, well, it's really hard for us to make it. And if these products are here, it's hard for us to keep making it. I was like, I'm sorry, this is capitalism. No one's going to get a head up on anyone else, just because they got cards better than us, just doesn't mean anything. Just do a better job of what you're doing. Don't blame the hemp farmer because he decided to grow hemp. That seems weird. We're attacking each other at that point. So I know I was a little long-winded on the explanation, but what is your thoughts on that bill and the hemp thing and everything?
Yeah, so I think it's another tried and true tactic that they usually go to with the whole, here's something that's gray, let's add some fear if no one
Yeah.
knows enough about it. But
Yeah.
because more of us are educated and they didn't have the full authority to do it, I believe it was tabled. I feel
Yeah.
that it there's no there's no reason to ban it, in my personal opinion, because if that's one way for people to receive their medication or their relief, or enhance their quality of life, then so be it. As long as they're not harming anyone or themselves, it should be fine. Regulated, yeah, look into it, create a structure, but don't outright ban it. Yeah, I really don't
Yeah.
believe in banning something, because that just amplifies the black market again, and
Yeah.
we don't want to do that.
Yeah, and the product can be bought online, so the black market will just be lucrative. Like
Yeah.
you'll have dudes buying penny on the dollar, shit, and then just slanging it all day, because it was going to be illegal to possess too. That
Mm,
bill made it illegal to even have it. So I'm like, so wait,
that's
so now
so
we're
great.
banning cannabis again? I'm like, this is crazy. And like
Because it looks
they
like
said that if
chemical.
you did it through a natural process, that it wouldn't be. And I'm like, this just makes no sense. Like this makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Like, are they going to
Um,
test it? Like, what?
yeah, exactly. And like all this stuff is third party tested. Even the guy that makes it here in New Mexico and then does it. He says, I have COAs for all my stuff. It's third party tested. I'm following all the rules. So why are you punishing me? And I agree. Just because the corporate companies are upset doesn't mean that the little farmer making a couple 30 grand, maybe a few hundred grand a year isn't really going to hurt your business. So it was more of a grab to try to corner the market again, kind of like closing licenses is for the big guys and everything. So that's that bill. It failed. We don't have to worry about it, but we could see it pop up again in the future. The sponsor of the bill did say that they've tried to get this bill in some manner or form passed the last like 4 or 5 years. So that's kind of, yeah, it's a little weird to hear that. You're just like, why? So
Right.
yeah, so I hope it doesn't pop up again. We'll see. The legislature's a little weird sometimes. So the last bill I'm going to talk about was HB 331. Now this is the labor peace agreement. This bill is a little strange to me because it has to deal with unions, and already here in the cannabis industry for New Mexico, you can already join a union if you want. You just do a form, you get enough signatures, and then you can join a union. So to me, I don't know why they need to do this language. And a lot of business owners were concerned because they were afraid that they're going to have to pay money for this. And during the committee hearing, we got answers that no, they would not have to hawk up any money for this whatsoever. It wouldn't cost them. All they would have to do was just allow the employees to participate in the union stuff, meetings and all that good stuff, and then also implement what the union people want, what the workers essentially want, like 15-minute breaks every certain few hours, stuff like that. They would have to adhere to that. And that is essentially the deal. which sounds great, but at the same time, when you try to implement something like that, when you already have something in place, it can get a little wonky. So, you know, like my thing is, well, why don't we work on what we already have, you know, like versus trying to add something totally new, because this isn't done with any other industry. This would be the first industry that implements something like that. And to me, it was a little weird. So I get the business people side and concern, you know, they're very concerned about that, you know, and all this other stuff. And they're like, well, the minimum wage is about to go up and all that too. But, you know, that's another argument and conversation that for another time, we're not going to get into the minimum wage thing. But what it will do if it does pass, because this did pass its first committee and it passed 6-4. So it was another close vote, but it did pass. And what was told to us from the sponsor is that they're going to try to do this in every industry after this. So this is just the first industry they're going to do it to. Then after that, they're going to require it from every other industry going on. So they're going to slowly start to implement this in other industries. Now, the thing about this is if you don't adhere to this agreement, sign it, whatever, and adhere, you don't get your license renewed and you don't get a license. So they can withhold your license if you don't do this. So it's kind of a serious thing. And to be honest, I don't think they should implement something like that already, because our industry is already overly regulated. But then when we add more regulations like this, it gets a little ridiculous. So I can see that part. And then from the employee side, you know, unions can be great. They can help. I get it. You know, there's times where they're great, but there's also times where they're not. So you have to keep that in mind too when you join a union. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. I've been a part of a union before when I was contracting through, you know, the U.S. government, and it's not always great. You know, sometimes it's weird. You know, and you know the picketing thing, and then being around your bosses during the negotiations, and they won't talk to you. It's awkward. You know, it's a really awkward situation. I get it. Sometimes that has to happen, but things like this, it's because you're not even allowed to picket, you can't boycott, and you can't stop working, you know, with this bill. So like the stuff that we're used to when it comes to unions and being able to be a union, you're not going to have those same rights. So it's almost like a milder version. So to me, I'm like, well, what's the point? You know, like they're just going to go to this union and say, hey, we want this and this and this. And if the dispensary doesn't adhere to it, they get their license pulled. That's if they're enforcing that. You know, so like they have to enforce that to start out with. And we're already seeing that we have an enforcement issue already in our industry and them enforcing certain things. So I can see them just overlooking this, you know, kind of just, you know, on like they do on certain things. So we can see what happens. I'm a little indifferent on this bill. I just haven't been convinced fully that this is going to benefit anybody really. I kind of feel that they need to take this in the summer during the interim committees and kind of hash it out there. And I think they really need to work with the employees and the employers and figure something out there, because this just seems forced on both sides. You know, like one side, you have the business owner where I have to do this and whatever. And on the other side, if I want to do this, I only get a little bit, you know, I don't get the full thing. So it's kind of like, well, what's the point? So I'm not too sure what's going to happen with this bill. That was its first committee. We'll see what happens after there. I think it's into the House Judiciary. Don't quote me on that one. I could be completely wrong. I just don't remember off the top of my head. There's a lot of bills, like I said. I think this one's going to the House Judiciary next, but it is going into another committee. We'll see in the coming days. Like I said, at the time of recording, it's not scheduled, but that could change at any time. So what are your thoughts on this? I know it was a
Yeah,
lot.
no, it's all informative, man, and really we need to know this stuff too, and be more involved. Yeah, forced unionization. That's a tough topic. I really don't believe in forcing, especially with the penalties that were mentioned. Those sound extreme and life
Yeah.
changing. So I feel that is not something to take lightly, and more of us need to speak out about that, especially call your representatives. Just keep calling, keep
Yeah.
notifying everyone that is in our local government and state government, because we we can't just let this slide, because I feel like unions are good. Yes, they do represent the people. They can be a vehicle of good things. It's just when it's a blanket over everything and it's all uniform, I just don't think that one size fits all.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a little indifferent about this one. We'll see what happens and how it develops. But again, more of us, we should speak out.
Yeah, and they tried to do a union, I think, when we were medical or sometimes years ago. I vaguely remember this, and I think it went terrible. Obviously, it's not around. So I think something was tried already, and it just didn't work. And maybe this is their way to fix it, but we'll see what happens. I kind of hope this doesn't pass unless they convince me some other way. I'm not too sure, but we'll see. Contact your representatives if you support it, if you don't support it. But that's all I have for the legislative update for this week. I know it was a lot, but a lot of stuff goes on with these bills sometimes, and I'm sitting there watching it like a football game. So of course I'm hearing certain things that not everybody gets to hear on these bills. And I want to make sure that you all are getting that, little tidbits of information that sometimes make a huge difference. Especially when it comes to these bills. Now, the very last thing I'm going to talk about, and we'll get going for the day, I just wanted to update everybody on this because this actually just popped up right before I was done writing the guide for today. And a few doctors filed a lawsuit claiming that the DEA rigged the rescheduling hearings. Now, this is going to get interesting. Yeah, some good cheese me on this one, right? So as you guys know, we've been dealing with this whole rescheduling thing for like the past 3 years. I've been updating you guys on it, periodically as we go. Right now, it looks like we're kind of in a weird stalemate with the new administration. The picks that Trump, picked, some of them are cannabis friendly, but, you have RFK who already punted to the DEA, and the new DEA pick is very anti-cannabis. So there's a few other people that are very anti-cannabis inside of his cabinet. So it's not going to be an easy thing for us to get this done. But these doctors suing could help us a lot because they argued on Monday, actually, in a DC circuit court that, the DEA pretty much inflated the numbers with anti-cannabis people and weren't fair on who they picked. And it shows because they didn't allow certain veteran groups in. They didn't allow other medical groups in and other people that wanted to be a part of it. I debated, going myself, but once I saw how, how almost prejudiced they are with us, with the cannabis people, I decided not to because it was a waste of my time. And then the hearing didn't even happen. So I'm glad I didn't. But now we're getting these lawsuits, and hopefully something comes from these lawsuits because I thought it was bullshit the way that they were going about it. And we had an administration that was pretty much cannabis friendly, and we still ran into issues like that. So it's going to be a lot more longer than we thought, before we get a fix at the federal level when it comes to cannabis. From my opinion, anyway, it's going to be a while. It's not going to be anytime soon that we'll see any positive changes, especially with who's in the government now. So we could see something crazy in the next few weeks, but I'll keep you guys updated. But I just wanted to update everybody on that because that's some good cheese right there. Once we hear what happens with that lawsuit, we might get something crazy. We might get nothing. So we'll see. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, all hands on deck when that happens, right? The rescheduling has been such an effort for decades, right? Like, I mean, like the movement behind the wanting to get rescheduled. It's because I'm glad that this is still on the table. It's not completely, gone, and we still will have opportunities to speak out. But yeah, we need to reschedule it. I really do. It's a long overdue. It's proven to have so many benefits and not be near as harmful as half of the things that are scheduled as scheduled. It's Schedule 1, correct? Yeah,
schedule. I think most of the things you can get at a pharmacy is like Schedule 2. Like you can get fentanyl from a drive-through window at CVS, Walgreens. Yeah, like right next to a dispensary, there's a Walgreens, and then they're mad at the cannabis dispensary for having a drive-through, but people are getting legal cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl from the one at Walgreens, but it's okay because the person's wearing a lab coat. So yeah, to me that just blows my mind. I'm like literally 50 feet from each other, and you have something significantly harder that's literally killing people, but you have cannabis that's just there, and you're calling cannabis the problem. So we'll see. There's still a huge stigma on cannabis, and it's going to be up to us to change that and change everyone's mind. So that's one thing, and we take that one day at a time. So that's everything I have for this week. Thank you again so much for joining me this week, brother. It was good. I can't wait to be on your show next week. And I can't wait to see what comes from this, workout stuff, the hiking thing, that's really cool. I'm excited to see it. So thank you again. And thank you everybody for watching this week. I'll be back next week for another episode, and we'll see what happens at the legislature. So it's crazy up there. They're throwing chingazos. All right, guys, I'm out this week. All right.